So the mice is like this. This week is Parshas Kisavoi. In Parshas Kisavoi, we have the Teichecha, the 98 curses that we have in the Teichecha of Parshas Kisavoi. Kind of depressing, but in the end of the Teichecha, there's a pasuk like this: Eile divrei habris asher tziva Hashem es Moshe. Lichrois es b'nei Yisrael be'eretz Moav mulvada bris asher koras itom b'choirev. So the question is, the pasuk is saying these are the words of the covenant. Eile divrei habris asher tziva Hashem es Moshe lichrois es b'nei Yisrael. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded Moshe to seal with the b'nei Yisrael this covenant. Besides for the covenant that was in Asher Korasitim B'chorev, that he sealed with them in Chorev. So what's the bris? Rashi says, Lichrois es b'nei Yisrael sheyikablu aleim es haTorah ba'olo u'b'shvua. That we took upon ourselves the Torah ba'olo u'b'shvua, and that's a bris. Milvada bris, Zogs Rashi klolo sheb'Torah's koyanim shenemru b'Sinai. That in Sinai already there was a set of klolos that came along with Kabbalas HaTorah. So we see that the klolos are not just something that come from above, but we actually committed to them, and we entered in a covenant with the Rabbeinu Shalom, taking upon ourselves these klolos, as it says in the beginning of Parashas Nitzavim. It says, "V'hivdiloi Hashem l'ro'o mikol shiftei Yisrael." Hashem will set him aside for evil from among the shiftei Yisrael. Kechol olois habris haksuva b'sefer haTorah hazeh. So again, the klolos are referred to olois habris. Olois habris. Now, it says that this is milvada bris asher korasitim b'chorev, so that means that the klolos of Torah's kohanim in Parsh B'chu Koisai were also with a bris. Over there, it doesn't say about a bris, but after the klolos in Parshas B'chu Koisai, it says v'zocharti es brisi Yaakov v'af es brisi Yitzchak v'af es brisi Avram eskor v'ha'oretz eskor, and then it says v'av gam zois b'yosom be'eretz oiveyem loy ma'astim v'loy ga'altim l'chaloisam l'hofer brisi itom ki ani Hashem Elokeim. And then it says v'zacharti lahem bris rishonim asher yitzesi yosim eretz Mitzrayim. So the bris that's mentioned in Parshas B'chu Koisai seems all positive. V'zacharti es brisi Yaakov, brisi Yitzchak, brisi Avram. V'av gam zois b'yosom be'eretz oiveyem loy ma'astim v'loy ga'altim l'hofer brisi itom. And v'zacharti lahem bris rishonim. So how are we saying now that the bris for the klolos is milvada bris that was made in Choirev? But in the end of Parshas Mishpatim, we have a pasuk vayikach es sefer habris vayikro ba'oznei ha'am, and over there it says in the Mechilta. So sefer habris is the book of the covenant, but what is it about? What is it about? So it says in the Mechilta, Lo shamanu mehechon korah ba'oznei, it says Vayikra Sefer Bris, from where? Vayikra ba'oznei. Rabbi Shmuel oimer betchilas ha'inyan mahu oimer. What does it say in Parshas Bahar? Eila hachukim v'amishpatim v'atoros. Omru Yisrael mekablim onu aleinu. Kivin shero shekiblu aleihem not al hadam v'zorak al ha'om shenemar vayikach Moshe es hadam v'yizrik al ha'om. So, to make a long story short, we see from Rabbi Shmuel that everything that appears between the beginning of Parshas Bahar, where it says Vayidab Hashem al Moshe Bahar Sinai Leimor, and the end of Parshas B'chu Koisai, where it says Eila hachukim v'amishpatim v'atoros es etziva Hashem Bahar Sinai, everything that appears between these 2 points was said at Sinai, and Memela, it includes the klolos of Torah's koyanim. Now, in other words, the Shmitim and the Yovelis and the Brachas of Klolis. And from here we see that if this is being read in the Sefer HaBris, so you see that the Brachas and Klolis of Torah's Koyanim are included in the Sefer HaBris, the Sefer of the Covenant. So here we see that there was a covenant made in Chorev on the Klolis. The Ramban has a different way. The Ramban says, the Ramban says that the bris that we're referring to over here, that was made in Chorev on the Klolis, was not made at Matan Torah, but at the time that they received the second Luchos. And the Ramban connects it with a pasuk in Parshas Kisisa, Vayomer Hine Onoichi Koireis Bris Neged Kol Amcha Esen Eflois Asher Lo Nivru B'Chol Haaretz U'B'Chol Hagoyim. So it's interesting. I mean, besides for that, it's not clear how we know that this bris is about Brachas U'Klolos, but Avada it's modna, because that bris appears in the context of the Moshe Rabbeinu saying to the Rebbeinu Shalom, "Vayomer Elov, im ein ponecha holchim al talenu mizeh." Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Rebbeinu Shalom that if your presence doesn't go along, don't bring us out of here. Ubamei yivoda eifoi ki motzosi chen beinecha ani va'amcha haloi belechtecha imanu v'niflinu ani va'amcha mikol ha'am asher al pnei adam. So Moshe Rabbeinu is asking that we should be distinguished from Kol Ha'am Asher Al Pnei Adam. And Behemshech it says that Hinei Onoichi Koreis Bris Neged Kol Amcha Esen Eflois. Rashi says Koreis Bris Al Zois. So from Rashi it's mavur that this is the bris for the V'neflinu Ani V'amcha that will be distinguished. Will be separate from the Kol Ha'am Asher Al Pnei Adam. And according to the Ramban, this bris of Hine Anochi Koreis Bris is the bris on the klolos of what? Of Torah's Koyanim. So how in the world are we meant to understand this? This is a bris of an Eflinu Ani Va'amcha Mikol Ha'am Asher Al Pnei Adam. V'lechtecha imanu. And the bris is about curses. But perhaps we don't understand. What's a shaykh a bris about klolos? A bris l'chorah means that we're sealing our relationship and making it forever. That a bris we understand is that I won't hurt you, you won't hurt me, I will do everything for you, you will do everything for me. I mean, that's what we understand a bris to be. And how does the idea of bris, a covenant, apply to the bris ha'olah hazois? I mean, how do klolos come into the bris? You know, talking about a bris, the Baal HaTanya writes in Parshas Nitzavim, he says, what's a bris? K'moy l'moshel shnei oyhavim, shekorsim bris beineihem sheloi tifsek avosim, two oyhavim. They curse bris that they'll never cease to love each other. She'ilu hoyo hadover boy. If the thing upon which the ahava depends would be something that would last forever, there would be no need for a krisas bris. Elo, lefisha yireim, since they're afraid, shemo yevutal hadover ubotlo ava. Maybe the reasons that we have now to love each other will cease to exist, and then we will no longer love each other. So for that, we make a krisas bris. Or shemo yigram ezam aniyim b'bachutz. The krisas abris ti avosam nitzchis bal timoit oilom vod v'lo yafridem shum meniyim ibayisum b'chutz. V'hainu mipnei she'oisin beineim kesher amitz v'chozok sheyisyachdu v'yiskashru ba'ahavosam b'kesher niflo u'lamayla minatam v'das. That even when there's no reason and it doesn't make sense, we will stay together, right? שאף על פי שעל פי הטעם והדס הוא יצורך לפסוק או אהבה, או לגרום איזה שנאה, אף על פי כן מחמס הקריסס בריס, מוכרח ליאס אהבוסם לא עד קיימס. ועל כל פשורים זה חס אהבה. Anyway, that's how he explains Barichis the idea of krisas bris. And that's why they would do it, they would be koreis the egel, vayav rubein besorov, because we're trying to express the idea that we're like two parts of one thing. Like just like the egel is two parts of one thing, and we go bein besorov, that symbolizes that we're two parts of one thing, and our togetherness will never cease to be. In any case, what in the world does this have to do with klolis, with klolis? So but this we already discussed that we say in this week's parsha, Hayoim hazeh Hashem Elokecha mitzavacha v'goymer es Hashem he'emarto hayoim li'ois loy le'loikim v'lalechas b'drochav v'lishmar chukav, which means you have distinguished Hashem today to be a God for you and to go in His ways, and Hashem he'emircho hayoim, Hashem distinguished you today. What li'ois loy? La'am sgula, that you should be for Him a treasured people. So the Sforno says, "Es Hashem he'emarto hayoim." What does it mean that we distinguished and set apart Hashem? Ki shekibalto alecha lehikones bebris b'shvuas ha'olam. When we took upon ourselves to be nichnas lebris b'shvuas ha'olam, shebo ovdan kol tuv gashmi tavarol. We took upon ourselves that if we won't be who we ought to be, we should not have anything. He'emarto v'roimamto esokel yizborg b'zeh. That's how we showed that how important the Rebbeinu Shalom is to us, and we gave Him the proper covet. Sheyiyeh nichbod yoiser etzlecha kiyum ritzoynoi, that we cherish the kiyum of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ratzon more mikol toiv gashmi, from anything good in this world. Lios l'chol alekim, and so on and so forth. So, in other words, it's clear that the bris is really that we are saying that avodas Hashem is the only thing that we care about, and we're willing to commit. It's a commitment to excellence. In other words, Klal Yisrael took upon themselves that they can only live on a higher level, and if they don't meet those standards, they will lose everything. They can't live an average, mediocre life. That's what the bris ha'olah is, and that's what the Rebbeinu Shalom is cursed with us, and we're cursed with Him. And that is the expression of our deepest connection, that there's nothing else that we consider important besides for serving the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that's really the v'neflinu ani v'amcha. That's the hini anoichi koires bris, negev kol amcha es neflos, v'neflinu ani v'amcha. We're distinguished from all nations of the world. We're different. We're talking we're not normal. And we can't live a normal life. We can only be committed to excellence and live that kind of on that level. The Rambam says in Hilchos Malachim Perek Aleph Halacha Zayin, Kiven shenimshach David zocher bekesem malchus, v'arei malchus loy ulebonav haschorim haksherim ad olam. So David HaMelech was zocher to the kesem malchus, and it's for him and his descendants haksherim ad olam. Shenemar kisacho yeh nochoin ad olam. Your throne will be established forever. V'lo yizacha elo l'ksherim. Shenemar im yishmeru bonecha brisi. So it hinges on a tnai. Af al pi shelo yizacha elo l'ksherim. Lo tikores hamalchus mizeret of Elohim. So l'choretz is after the sasri. I mean, you need ksherim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is maftiach him that lo tikores. So he says, Hifticha HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'kach. Shenemar im yazvu bonav terosi ubimishpoti lo yelechun ufakadeti b'shevet pisham ubinigoyim avoinam v'chasti lo yosim imay. I'll never remove my chesed from him, because if his children will not follow in the ways of the Torah, I will punish them. So the punishment is an expression of the chasdi, is the way to bring about the chasdi lo yosim imay. And even though the Yerusha of the Malchus is totally in Bonav Aksherim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises David that the Melucha will never be nifsak. How does the Rebbeinu Shalom ensure that the Melucha will never be nifsak from David? Because he tells him that if your children will not behave, and this is how it says in Tehillim Peites, Oilam eshmor loy chasdi, uverisi ne'emenes loy, v'samti lo ad zaroi, v'chisoy kimei shamayim, im yazvu bonov teirasi, ubimishpotai lo yeleichun, im chukoisai yechalelu, mitzvoisai lo yishmoru, ufakadeti b'shevet pishim, v'goyim abani, v'chasna lo yaf me'im, v'lo yashak b'emunasi, lo yachalel brisi, moitzes v'osi lo yashan, achas, nishbati b'kodeshim, l'David achaziv, zaroi lo'olam yeh, v'chisoy keshemesh negdi. So the bris is a bris that the Malchus will never cease to, it will never be taken away from David. But how is that bris? How is that miskayim? It's only miskayim because if they misbehave, HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishes them. You know, if you look in the Rambam, in Hilchos Yisuri B'yah, in the beginning of Perek Yudal, it says, Keitzad mekablim geirei hatzedek, tishayovoy le'izgayim, v'yivdeku achrav, v'lo yimtzu ilo. They won't find any ulterior motive to explain why he's coming to be Megayer, and he looks serious. Yeah, so what do we do? So then we say to him, what did you see that brought you to want to convert? Do you not know? Don't you know that Eden are afflicted and crushed and with this suffering comes upon them and they all kind of sorrows? If he says, I know, and I'm not even worth to join the Jewish people, I'm not even worth that level of suffering. Yeah. Yeah. Then we take him, and this comes from a Braisa in Masechtas Yevomis. Now, Hilchas Geiris, we learn from the Seder Matan Torah, you know, that's as Mavur in B'Shloisha Dvorim, Nichnas Yisrael Lebris, B'Mila, Tvila V'Artzos Dom. Now, the bris of Chorev was a bris on the clothes, as we saw. So the root of this thing that we tell him, and he has to say, that really comes from the Ikke Seder Matan Torah. We became Jews by taking upon ourselves by entering into the bris of Olois. As Rashi says on this Eini Kedai, I don't even feel worthy to be part of the Jewish suffering. So you see, it's a whole different outlook on Jewish suffering. Now, the Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah Daf Tezayin, Amar Reb Krus Bedoy, Amar Reb Yochanan, Shloisha Svarim Niftachim B'Rosh Hashanah, Echad Shel Rishoyim Gmurim, Ve'echad Shel Tzadikim Gmurim, Ve'echad Shel Beinoiniyim. Tzadikim Gmurim, Nichtavim V'Nichtavim La'alte L'Chayim. Tzadikim Gmurim are immediately Nichtav V'Nechtam L'Chayim. Rishoyim Gmurim, Nichtavim V'Nichtavim La'alte L'Misa. Beinonim, Tluyim V'Oimdim Rishon Ad Yom Kippurim, Zochu Nichtavim L'Chayim, Lo Zochu Nichtavim L'Misa. So you know the Ritva over there says, Yesh Makshim. Amay Nichtavim L'Misa. Why is it that the Rishoim are Nichtavim L'Misa? We say Lo Zachu Nichtavim L'Misa, that the Beinanim are Tluyim V'Oimdim Rishon Ad Yom Kippurim, and by Lo Zachu Nichtavim L'Misa. So why is it that the Beinanim, if Lo Zachu, then Nichtavim L'Misa on Yom Kippur? So if you're half and half, you should be nechtam l'chaim, not l'misa, because Rav Chesed, mate klapi chesed. So he says, which means that they remained beinanim, then the nechtavim l'chaim. Because Rav Chesed, Matik Lapi Chesed, Lo Yomdu B'Schusom. During the Aseres Yimei Tshuva, they didn't remain B'Schusom, they didn't remain half on half. Elo Shehershiu, they did more averis, then nechtamim l'misa k'rishon gemurim. So really, if somebody remains a Beinani until Yom Kippur, he gets life, not death. That's what Tosfos says. But Rav Rabbeinu Yonis al Hoisif, the Lahachi Loika Amar Kotu Nechtamim Lemisa. So it should say if they sinned between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they'll be Nechtamim Lemisa. It doesn't say anything about sinning. So he says that's Rabbeinu Yonis said because we don't even have to say that. Mishum dahava milsa de memela. Shaharei Yom Kippurim mitzvah leizvadis v'loshu b'tshuva. Kidiksiv mikol chatei seichem l'fnei Hashem titoru. V'hineim asu mitzvahs aseizu zachu v'nestakru. V'im lo yasu hari avru v'rishiu v'neschayv. We don't even have to say that the Beinani sinned before Yom Kippur, because if he didn't do tshuva, that in itself is an added sin, because there's a mitzvah asay to do tshuva on Yom Kippur. So it comes out that somebody that really HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Rav Chesed Matik Lapi Chesed. Half and half is Zoicha L'Chai. And the only way that the Beinani is Nechtam Lemisa is if he added a sin in the Aseret Simei Tshuva. Now this is L'Chara Pella, because it's L'Chara Pashut that we have the Aseret Simei Tshuva as an opportunity to be able to correct what we did wrong, right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu delays the din of the Beinanim in order they should be able to be Zoicha B'din. But according to Tosfos and the Rabbeinu Yoina, it comes out punfaked. Without Aseret Simei Tshuva, so the guy would be a Beinani on Rosh Hashanah, he would be Zoicha L'Chaim. Without any delay, without any further delay, he would be Zoicha L'Chaim. Now come the Aseret Simei Tshuva and only create a problem. Because you have now Aseret Simei Tshuva, and if the Beinani doesn't do Tshuva, so the Pshat he added a sin. And he added a sin, so therefore he's Nechtam L'Misa. So it comes out that the Aseret Simei Tshuva are really not positive, they're negative, right? So Be'emes the Ritzvah says, V'yesh makshim l'fishi tazu, Zman zeh shekavu l'ra'asamu, that the added Aseret Simei Tshuva is a ra'ah. Shahari toiv hoyol lahem, she'yia kel mate klape chesed la'alter. On Rosh Hashanah already, let him be mate klape chesed v'lo yamtin at Yom Kippurim. Shim zachu lo yirvichu klum, because they would anyway be nechtav l'chaim, v'im lo zachu neschayvu. So it makes it worse. V'lo kasha. So he says, she'im zachu nechtavim l'chaim shel tzadikim gemurim. Because if the Beinani is zoiche and he does tshuva during the Aseret Simei Tshuva, he's zoiche l'chaim shel tzadikim gemurim. The adifa mimaduhu rav chesed mate klapi chesed. That's a higher level of life than living just by the Rav Chesed Mate Klape Chesed. Ve'im lo yizachu neschayv. So really what he's saying is, listen, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us Aseret Simei Tshuva, and that's a present, it's a gift, it's an opportunity. Why? Because without Aseret Simei Tshuva, true, the Beinani would live, but he would live a life of a Beinani. And a life of a Beinani, a life of an in-betweener, a life of somebody who's mediocre and average, I mean, that's not so much of a life worth living. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us Aseret Simei Tshuva, during which we have two choices. Either we make it worse and we become Rishonim Gemurim and then we're dead. Either we make it better and we become Tzadikim Gemurim, and then we live a life of tzaddikim, not a life of mate klapi chesed. So you see that the entire institution of the Aseret Simei Tshuva is to remove us from being average, mediocre, just making it. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that we should rise above that level, and we should either be on the higher level, either not be. It's either be on the higher level or cease to be. And that's really all part of the special relationship that Klal Yisrael has with the Rebbeinu Shalom. That Jews cannot be average, and they cannot be normal, and we cannot be mediocre, and we cannot be in between. And we're committed to excellence. We're committed to a higher level of living, and we took upon ourselves that if we don't meet those standards, we shouldn't be. And the Rebbeinu Shalom should help that we should be able to move upward towards that standard, and we should be zoiche to a ksiv v'chesim